All right, I think we can begin now, and hopefully others join us as we go through our session for today. So, welcome once again to today's roundtable discussion. And our discussion for today would be an overview about graduate school, and we'll try as much as I can to answer questions regarding graduate school. So just to guide us as we proceed our conversation for today, I'll just give you an outline on what we'll be discussing today, so that you have a conceptual idea of the different things we're going to be discussing today. So, of course, getting started, how to start your graduate school journey. It gives you an overview on the different fundamental steps to take when you want to pursue your dream of going for graduate school. Then I talk about the documentation. There are several documentations required from you. And so I will go through this documentation. You have an idea of what it is, and at some point dive deep into them and see what we can achieve when we discuss about documentation. Then I talk about funding opportunities. This is very important because as an international student going to the US or to Canada for graduate studies, you need to understand the concept of funding. Except you're from a very rich background and you can sponsor yourself for education, then that's fine. But if you can't sponsor yourself, it means that you require funding opportunities, and this is very, very important. So don't miss this part of the presentation. And of course, I'm going to talk about mentorship. Mentorship is key towards achieving your goal in life, and graduate school is not exception. No exception. So I'll talk about mentorship and how you can, get good advantage and profit more from mentorship. So again, before I continue, I'll just do a brief introduction of myself. You probably have seen me, you know about me, or you don't know about me. You probably have received some correspondence about cables. You probably might have gone through our emails we've sent across, and you've seen Emmanuel Obasi. So my name is Emmanuel Obasi. My full name is Emmanuel Chibueze Obasi. I am a midstream production engineer with Schlumberger. Schlumberger is also known as SLB here in the United States of America. I finished with a master's degree from the University of Wyoming, still here in the United States of America. My master's degree was focused on energy and petroleum engineering, and that was my master's degree. In 2019, I graduated with from the Federal University of Technology, Owerri, and then I have gone across over the past few years, Ghana experiences working in the industry, working in academia, and so on and so forth. I'm very passionate about grassroots leadership and empowering people to maximize the potential they have towards achieving whatsoever they've been called to do um, for as towards maximizing whatsoever they've been called to do regarding their destinies, right? And so my skill sets comprises and but not limited to reservoir engineering. I have lots of experience in reservoir engineering and production optimization. When I mean reservoir engineering and production optimization, I am specifically talking about reservoir engineering, production optimization as it relates to hydrocarbon production, petroleum engineering stuff, right? I've over the past few years gained experiences working with integrated petroleum modeling softwares and toolkits, advanced Excel, data science and machine learning application in various parts of the industry. And I happen to also be the founder of Cable. And just on a side note, my birthday is September 9th. I just thought I should just add it there. And so this is just a little background and just information about who I am. And I think I would also speak to you guys about Cable. We've heard about Cable a lot. Unfortunately, we don't have an official web page and a website where you can get so much information about Cable. We are currently working on this information. We're currently working on creating our official website so that you can always and every day go back to that website and see what Cable is all about. But you've probably, we have our social media handles on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and then on Facebook, if I'm not mistaken, so you can have a glimpse on what we do. But because of this presentation, I will just reintroduce Cable to you so that you also have an idea of what Cable is and what we're doing. So Cable stands for Career Academics, Building Leadership and Entrepreneurship, right? This is what Cable is. It's an acronym for Career Academic Building Leadership and Entrepreneurship. We started way back in 2018, and Cable is not for profits, right? It's a virtual community. Most of you have been added to the group chat on WhatsApp. If you've not been added to the group chat, please you can signify, and then I would add you to our virtual community on WhatsApp, and we are trying to expand community and make sure that we become better and better. Clean up and Edozim, I think your hands are raised. If um, if there's an issue, please just let me know in the chat box so that I get to okay, you guys want to be added, and that's fine. I'll go through it and yeah, add you guys. So we started in 2018. To cut the long story short, we are geared towards building capacity for students and young professionals in key areas of career, academics, leadership, and entrepreneurship. We believe that these are frontiers to build a nation. We believe that any surviving nation, especially in the 21st century and especially in 2024, needs to be rooted in these four areas. They have to have a blissing career, they need to do well academically, they need to understand the concept of effective leadership, and also maximize fully in the concept of entrepreneurship. And this we believe are very critical areas to build a nation. Like I've said, our vision is to proliferate across Nigeria, and not just Nigeria, but cut across different parts of Africa and the world at large, championing a progressive voice, right, on building this very good growth in youth. We believe that youths are the ones that build a nation. And so if we get it right with the youths, then we can be on course towards having a better society. So this is what we want to do. This is exactly what our programs have been trying to achieve over the past few years. And it is very important to also note that our core value system that to build capacity, we want to grow. We very much we very much speak on integrity. This is our core value. We also pride ourselves on volunteering. Most of the things you see here, our programs are coordinated by the people called Cable Ambassadors. So they're not part of the virtual, they're part of the virtual community, but they also work in the background, right? Helping, making sure that these activities come to life. You see corresponding emails a lot. These are done by a lot of people. You see events like this being organized. These are done by a lot of people. We have our scholarship scheme. These are done by a lot of people. So they are called Cable Ambassadors, and they help us in putting and making sure that these events come to life. If you also again want to be part of the Cable Ambassadors, please you can signify on the group chats, on the chat box, or better still, you can shoot me an email, shoot Cable an email, and then we would just interview you, very brief interview, and see if you meet the required quality that we're looking for, and then we'll add you as being part of the Cable Ambassadors. Please, it is very important. There's a lot for you to benefit, right, from being a Cable Ambassador. So please take note of that. So what we are not superheroes. We are not moved by our current audience. We are not looking to garner lots of people. What we are moved, what moves us is making effective and genuine changes in our society. We are not superheroes. We are not doing this to get accolades from people. We are not seeking self-glorification. And again, we're not doing things for monetary gain. Most of our events, if you have followed us in the past and our precedents, you would see that we don't. Whatever we do, we're not interested in making money or making monetary gain. And our activities, I'm going to skip through this because we've had some of them already. We've introduced the 2024 GRE scholarship scheme. We selected 10 persons, and they have all now, some of them, the GRE fees have been paid, and they're preparing to write the exams, and we're going to pay the remaining ones for everyone that we've selected. We have our annual symposium and exhibition coming up very soon in November. Please do not miss our annual symposium. Very important. We have a lot of activities that we're going to be going through, and also it's going to give people the chance to. We're going to support and empower people that have any business ideas, people that want to grow their career in different areas. We're going to be supporting them, and we're going to have lots and lots of workshops to empower and build people's capacity. We've had our graduate school conference this year. So what we are doing today is just a roundtable discussion, but we had a very, very in-depth graduate school conference. It was held in March. We invited lots of speakers, professors in the United States of America, research assistants here in the United States of America, and other people. When you go on our LinkedIn page, you see more of this. We have our blockchain and cryptocurrency series coming up soon. Technical research series have always gone. Last month we had one on data analysis. Next month we'll have another one again, and lots of programs coming up. But I will just briefly go through them, and so I'm not going to spend too much time on this. And so these are our activities. Please be part of our community because you stand the chance to benefit a lot. And let's dive deep into our topic and business for today. So getting started. So if you want to pursue graduate school, okay, you've been hearing about graduate school. So just for information, graduate school is the same thing as postgraduate education. Most people in Nigeria or in the European countries, they know it as postgraduate education. And when I mean postgraduate education, I mean a master's degree or a PhD. These are postgraduate. I mean, but here in the US, a lot of people they know it as graduate education. So what do you do if you want to get started? There's a lot of information, a myriad of information out there. So people may seem lost. How do I start? How do I put myself together? I want to go out. I want to go out. I want to leave Nigeria to further my education, not just because I want to make a living for myself, but I want to improve and garner expertise in my key area of research, my key area that I'm very good at, right? So where do you start? So I have put out 3 things to look out for when starting, right? And the very first of them is first things first, right? Like I've said, you want to look at the very fundamental things to start with when you're looking out for graduate school. And the first is the choice of the graduate program. This is very important. I'm going to speak more on this. Just to give you a very high-level overview on the choice of graduate program. You need to know what you want to do for graduate school, right? Do I want to do what I did as during my undergrad? It's left for you to decide. Some of you were forced in doing in majoring in something that is not what you wanted to do, right? Probably because you've stayed at home for a long time, you've written jam, and maybe it's not forthcoming. The choice of your career choice is not forthcoming. What you want to study is not forthcoming. Then you just decide to, okay, let me just try my hand on something else, and then you find yourself doing something that you don't like. So graduate school is an opportunity to make you have a rethink. If I'm not doing this thing right, what I want to do, what else do I want to do? So graduate school give you an opportunity to do something else. Some of you might have been forced towards studying a program, maybe by your parents, maybe peer pressure. And even if you decide to study something and then you have a change of mind, along the way you see that, okay, this is not what I want, this is not what I like, this is not what I'm passionate about, I want to do something else, right? Then graduate school gives you the opportunity. It doesn't mean that if you have a BSc in chemistry, you cannot do a master's in maybe something else, industrial chemistry or biochemistry. Let me just use that for instance, right? So the program gives you, a graduate program gives you opportunity to choose, and to choose what. What are those things you're going to be looking for in choosing a program? I will tell you in a bit. The next thing to do is also consider the choice of universities. There's something what we call the Tier 1 universities in the United States, the Tier 2 universities in the United States. The Tier 1 universities are top-ranked universities, research-ranked. They are considered Tier 1 because their research facilities are top-notch, right? And they are Tier 2 and Tier 3. So you want to make your choice and consider, okay, do I want to go to a Tier 1 university? Obviously, you want to go, depending on how strong your profile is. And then these are the opportunities, these are the things you start thinking, okay, what are the Tier 1 universities? And for every Tier 1 universities, the admission process is very strong. It has a different admission process than Tier 2 and all that. And there's something we call the Ivy League schools. The Ivy League schools are the top either 6, 7, 8 schools in the United States of America. The admission requirement is very rigorous, right? And they select very few, a handful of students. So you also need to have that idea. Okay. This, and this. Then, lastly, the choice of location. This is very important. I'm going to be speaking on all of this, like I said, in the next slides. Where do I want to go in the United States? Do I want to stay in the southern part where we have a lot of black people, or I want to go to the western part where we have a very good mix of the black and the white, or I want to go to the far western mountainous parts where it is very cold. Some people may not like the cold weather, right? You need to make and know exactly what you want and what exactly you're looking for. So what are the things to consider in choosing a graduate programs? So the first is your passion, research, trend, and relevance. This is very important, right? Your passion, like I said, some of you don't have a passion in what you did in undergrad. And so the graduate program is an opportunity for you to reconsider. Probably you have a passion in coding, you have a passion in robotics, right? And probably you've done maybe mechanical engineering in your BSc. So are you passionate about coding robotic? It's an opportunity to look into mechatronics, to look into having a master's or a PhD in electrical and electronics. And in that particular area, they have a branch for robotics there. So it is another thing to consider that, right? So you need to know the passion. And not just passion, you need to understand the research trend because it's very important. Everything in the graduate school journey is interrelated. Why is the research trend important? Because you're not just looking for what's a program that doesn't have a lot of opportunities, right? It's just statistics. If the research trend is low and its relevance is low, opportunity in that area will be low, right? So you also want to look at the research trend and relevance. Is what I'm studying today going to be relevant in 5 years from now? So remember, a graduate school is just a means to an end, not the end. You're not just here to study. You're here, it gives you a means to an end. And that end is to develop your career, to create a niche for yourself, to create a source of living for yourself in the United States of America, or any place you want to do, any place you want to go to. So you need to understand the relevance. Another thing is availability of funding opportunities. Most people come and tell me, oh, I want to study this, I want to study this. The first question I also ask them is, what is the availability of funding? They tell me, okay, I don't know the availability of funding. It is out there, right? It is out there in the university's webpage. My program, are they available funds for my program? Again, I'm telling this to you because it's very important. You don't just want to go to start applying to schools that they are not available funding, except you can fund yourself, except you can take care of yourself. And an average tuition fee in the United States of America for just 1 year is close to $30,000. So, I mean, it gives you an opportunity to think twice, right? Can you afford this? People say, okay, I don't need funding. You don't need funding, but can you afford $30,000 for just 1 year? And your program would comprise of more than 1 year, right? And again, if you don't have funding, it becomes extremely difficult to get a visa if you don't have funding opportunities. When you go to the embassy, 70% chances that you won't get a visa to study in the US or to study in Canada. So are they available funding? Most programs have funding, others do not. Take, for instance, industrial chemistry and physical science. Most of the biological science courses and physical science courses have lots of funding here because the United States is a top-ranked country for what? For health studies, right? For engineering, right? They have their top, right? The United States have this. I mean, they are known all over the world as the best country when it comes to engineering, technology, health, and other related biological science courses. It means that there are lots of funding available, research grant and all. I'm going to talk about funding later on. So some programs, they're just coming in, data science. There are a lot of data science programs out there, but the problem is they don't have funding, unfortunately. They're very few. So have an idea of what program would give me an opportunity to fund me, and it's going to give you It's going to help you guide. It's going to guide you on what you want to do for graduate school. And lastly, career opportunities in the field, right? Do you have beyond schooling? Are there available jobs? Because in the United States here, there's something that they call OPT, occupational practice training. After you do a master's degree and you do a PhD here, what next? You need to start working, right? And as an international student, you don't have the right to work outside the school on a student visa. You can work outside the school during your summer internship and spring or summer internship, spring internship, whatsoever. But after that, what authorizes you to work and remain in the United States is to work, right? And there's something we call OPT. It gives you the opportunity to work. But beyond OPT, you need to get a working visa to still stay in the United States and then apply for a green card. So you need to be looking beyond your studies. This is something that you also need to start. A lot of people make this mistake. Oh, they're just focused on coming to the United States to study. And after 1 year, going to your second and final year for your master's, they are confused. Why? Because they don't really know what next. Because I mean, you need to be on your toes. If you don't know what next, in 3 to 4 months, you're coming back, right? Your status is rescinded because you don't have the legal right to remain in the United States. So you need to be thinking, will this thing that I'm studying give me opportunity to work in the US? What is the job market like in the United States for this my particular degree? Some people want to go into academia. They want to say, okay, I don't want to work in the industry. I want to become a professor. I want to start teaching in the university. Then you still have to consider, okay, what am I going to do after this course? Right? Are there enough postdoctoral positions? Are there enough research positions for different schools? Right? It gives you an idea of what to do. I think I've spoken a lot on this. Next thing is the choice of universities, right? The first thing, research about the schools, visit academic web pages. I've placed some of them here. Some of you are probably asking, oh, how can I get information about the schools, right? How do I know schools in the United States? There are lots of websites to go. And one of the websites I recommend for people is usnews.com. In fact, the first is Google. When you go to Google, type what are the schools that I have that's probably, if I want to do a master's in public health administration, I can go on Google and type what are the schools in the United States that have public health administration. It will show you that, but it's a little bit limited because it don't give you a lot of information. Particular website that you can go, it shows you not just the schools. Believe me, there are over 2,000 colleges in the US, 2,000 universities, and most people just know very few, right? Why am I saying this? Why is this very important? Because usnews.com gives you a lot of information about the universities. Most people neglect some certain universities because they do not hear about them. And some of those universities that you think they are small, that is where the funding is. That is where you can get scholarship there. So don't neglect the in quotes, so small universities because you're pursuing a higher university. It is very good, but wisdom is profitable to direct, right? Have a mix of different schools in your pool, right? So that you position yourself strategically to get funding. So when you visit this website, it gives you an idea, usnews.com, www.Peterson, the gradcaf.com gives you an idea of the schools, not just the schools, it gives you an idea of the admission rates, the current admission status for the program you're going for. And please attend graduate school fairs. There are a lot of graduate school fairs that are being put out there by different universities. You can visit their webpage. The website will always tell you about the upcoming graduate school fair. Please, that is another opportunity to know about the university. And you need to, another thing to consider from the choice of university is the university ranking. Why? Because there are two types of university ranking. There's the general ranking and there's a discipline ranking. Why is this important? Again, I repeat myself. Everything you do regarding graduate school are interrelated. You are working and you are making decisions so that you position yourself very well to gain admission and funding. Go and check the university ranking. It has two rankings. The general ranking of universities Recently, they just finished ranking universities in the United States, right? There's a world ranking. I think what Quant can give you that idea for the world ranking of that university, and not just the world ranking, the discipline ranking. Again, take for instance, I want to do a PhD. I want to do a PhD in, let's say, in polymer science, or I want to do a PhD in chemical engineering. There is a discipline ranking. What are the best schools for chemical engineering in the US? It has its own ranking. What are the best schools in engineering in the US? It has its own ranking. Why? Because once you have the idea of the ranking, it gives you their admission acceptance rate. The admission acceptance rate is very important. It gives you, okay, if this program is top tier, it means that the admission rate would be what? Would be top tier, right? And not just that, it's an idea of, okay, do I want to go? I want to go to a school that has my research, right? That are very good in my research. I don't just want to go to a school that don't have my research. I don't just want to go to a school that have my research, but I want to go to a school that are they are the best in my research. Maybe my research is, let's say, in petroleum engineering. I want to do more on reservoir characterization. I want to go to a school that are top notch in reservoir engineering. So this is very, very important. And lastly, you want to note the academic application windows for schools in the US. It is very important. I cannot overemphasize this point. A lot of people miss out on admission and application because they don't understand the academic system of the United States. And I'm just going to briefly explain the academic system of the United States. It is different from what you have in Nigeria. In Nigeria, I mean, there are differences anyway, but they have slight similarities. In Nigeria, most schools operate on the two academic semesters, right? We have the first semester and the second semester. Some people from the school that I graduated in Nigeria in 2019, we also call it the Harmattan semester and the rain semester. So essentially, first and second semester. In the United States, we have two academic windows, two academic sessions, rather. We have the fall academic session and the spring academic session. The fall academic session and the spring academic session. The other session is the summer. The summer, you don't have a lot of academic activities going on. The summer is for holiday. The summer is for research. The summer is for internship. So we have the fall, and the fall begins from August to December. And the application window for these academic sessions are different. I come again, the fall begins from August to December. The spring begins from January to May. And then from May to August is summer. Now, we have the application window. Now, take for instance, you are looking to apply, let's say I want to start my application. I'm shooting for fall 2025, right? 2025 fall, which is next year, that starts in August. The application window commences the preceding year, which is 2024. Now, it begins this period, and the application window begins in October to December, the preceding year. For spring, that begins from January to May, the application window begins in August and ends sometime September. Note and a caveat here, there may be little variation depending on the school, but this is generally how the academic window works in the United States of America. So therefore, it means that you need to understand, okay, if I'm shooting for fall next year, it means that I need to start making preparation this year and have an idea on when to write some of these exams that I'm going to talk about in the coming slide, know when to apply, and know when to expect admission. Because expecting admission, because America, the schools in America gives you enough time to prepare to travel, because they understand that you're going to apply for a visa, and they understand that you need to make travel plans, and so they give you enough time to prepare. So it means that an academic calendar that begins in August, in March of that year, they already sent out admission and funding letters to people that have been admitted to the program. So these are the things we need to look at. Please, can you just stop people? All right, thank you. So these are the things you need to consider when you are looking out for the choice of university. And then the choice of location, I'm just going to briefly talk about this. There are different regions in the United States, right? We have the Northeastern, Midwest, the South, and the West. And these regions have their specific social and cultural ideologies. A lot of states, the states here in the US, the system of government in the US is different from the system of government in Nigeria. We have state laws. State laws abide, right? We have federal laws. In some certain countries, some certain things are not accepted. In some certain states in the United States, some things are accepted, while when you move to another state, they're not accepted. In some certain states, you pay state tax. In other states, you don't pay state tax. Some people are very liberal, others are not liberal. You also want to know the cultural ideologies. Do I have a lot of black? Do I have a lot of Nigerians? Do I have a lot of whites? Can I relate with these people? And because the blacks are the minority, you need to understand how you work with them. There's some certain things that is not allowed in the United States. The United States is not a place where you just come and do anyhow. There's no room for anyhowness. So you need to understand these things. You need to understand the temperature and the climate conditions. I schooled in Wyoming, and Wyoming is one of the coldest regions in the United States of America. So ask yourself, can you survive in sub-zero weather? Can you survive when the temperature is negative 30 degrees Celsius? I mean, there are facilities and infrastructure put in place for you to survive. But some people don't just like cold. Some people don't just like how when it snows. So you have to make that decision for yourself. And now, moving ahead to the documentation required for admission and funding, these are the various steps that you need to take once you made those decisions about the graduate school, the choice of university, and the choice of location. The next step is start preparing and start documenting. A lot of people wait till the dying minute before they start making documentation. Whereas these are things that you do in tandem with making these choices for universities, choice of your program, and throughout the application process, you do them in tandem. You don't just wait till the dying minute. So for every admission process in the United States, it follows these steps, right? And some people ask me, oh, do I need to pay an agent to apply to the United States? Please, by all means, I would encourage you not to pay anyone. You can apply yourself, except you are in a very dire situation that you don't want to make application for yourself. But believe me, you put yourself in a very disadvantageous position if you do not apply yourself. Why? Because first and foremost, nobody tells your story better than you tell your story, right? Second, these people, agents, a lot of agents, of course, they are business institutions. They want to make profit. It therefore means that they will find every way to exploit you to make profit. And it's not bad for them because it's a business to them. And of course, you are very much aware of the financial implication of going to an agent. So you don't have to go to an agent. You need to understand that you can do it yourself. A lot of people have done it in the past, so why not you? If someone like me can achieve it, so why not you? So the first thing you need to know that every application is through an online application. You will not pay anybody again to apply or send application for you physically. Everything is done online. Every school in the United States of America has an online portal. Any school that doesn't have an online portal is a scam. If anybody comes to you and tell you that they want to apply to school for you and he doesn't have an online portal, it's a scam. Just know that. Every school have an online portal. You go there. There's an online application. You start filling online application, answering questions and all that, filling the form. Now, after you've completed your online application, there's what we call an application fee. You pay an application fee to the graduate program. Directly to them, not to anybody or not to an agent. Some schools are very gracious to waive application fee. In fact, a lot of schools waive application fee. You need to understand which school and what program have an application fee waiver. And in some cases, you request for application fee waiver. I can give you an example for myself. I requested for a lot of application fee waivers and I was granted. Now, beside the online application, you need to understand the necessary documentation. And the first documentation that is required is called a statement of purpose, or in some schools, they term it a motivational letter or a personal statement. Are these very different? No. But are they 100% the same? Also, no. Do they share some very close similarities? Yes. Can one be used interchangeably for the other? Yes, depending on the requirements. More often than not, when you go to the web page of the university, they tell you what is required from the statement of purpose, or personal statement, or motivational letter. I'm going to speak on the difference on in my next slide. But just know that the statement of purpose, personal statement, motivational letter is one of the most important documentations, because what happens is that when you apply to a graduate program, something called a graduate committee is formed. So the graduate committee is formed, and they sit as a committee and evaluate every application, and then decide, okay, you meet our threshold, you have been admitted. You don't meet our threshold, you are not admitted. You meet our threshold, they're going to offer you funding in form of TA. You don't meet our threshold, you are rejected. So the graduate committee, they sit and they look at your personal statement. I beg you, in the name of God, please do not copy anybody else's statement of purpose, because they go through this statement of purpose. There is a way to write a statement of purpose. I'm going to speak on it on the next slide. It is one of the most important documentation, because imagine you are applying for a graduate program, you're not applying for an undergraduate program. If you're applying for an undergraduate program, there's a leverage of admission, leverage of the quota is so much, and they take a lot of people, right? But the graduate program is so small, they take just a handful. And remember, you're not just competing with yourself, you're competing to get into a program as other students, not just in Nigeria, in Ghana, in West Africa, in China, in Asia, in Europe, and in the world at large. So you are competing to get into a program. So it means that whatever you are doing, you're telling yourself that I want to stand out. I want to make my application to be different. So it means that you should not copy anybody. Some people just write generic statement of purpose. Very wrong. Some people go to, now we have ChatGPT, which is good, which is nice. It helps you maximize your time and every other thing. But again, I tell people, use AI wisely. You don't use ChatGPT to write the statement of purpose, because they are going to know. And once they detect that it is AI assisted, automatically you're not going to even get admission. So statement of purpose is very important. Another thing is your academic resume. Your academic resume is different from your work resume. Some of you submit resume as you apply for jobs in Nigeria. It is very good, but understand that the academic resume is different from your work resume. We also talk about what we call an unofficial transcript. It's a required document. Unofficial transcript is a required documentation. People have this misconception of what an unofficial transcript is. Whether you get your unofficial, whether you get your transcript from the university, some people say, oh, okay, how can I apply for transcript in my university? They take a lot of time to get transcripts, right? Some university take 3 months, 4 months. But trust me, even if you get an official, quote and unquote, an official transcript to you from the university, as long as your university in Nigeria sends that transcript to you, rather than sending it directly to the university in the US, it is considered unofficial. It is considered unofficial. So what I'm saying in essence is that if you are applying to a school and then you upload a transcript by yourself, right? Whether you get it from the register of your school, it is still unofficial. An official transcript is a transcript that the university sends directly to the university you're applying to, the school you're applying to in the United States. That is when it is considered official. And most schools in the US accept unofficial transcripts at first when you apply. So why am I saying this? I'm saying this because some of you may probably be waiting so long to get a transcript. Why don't you know your grades? You know every of your grade from the very first year till your final year, and you have a template of a transcript. Why don't you use that template of a transcript, input all your grades accordingly, That is if you know exactly all your grades accordingly, and then get a departmental stamp from your department. That transcript is also an unofficial transcript. It can be used. And so instead of waiting 3 months or 4 months to get a transcript from your university, I don't know your university that some university take a lot of time, you can use that unofficial transcript. And why they consider unofficial transcript rather than official transcript is that to send an official transcript to the United States of America from Nigeria incurs a financial commitment, right? You need to pay to send an official transcript. Now, imagine that you're applying to 10 schools. Does it mean that if you're applying to 10 schools and you say you want to use official transcripts, it means that you need to pay 10 times to send your transcript to the United States, which doesn't make sense, right? So that's why they allow unofficial transcript. Use unofficial transcript, and when you eventually get admission and funding, then you can now send your official transcript. The last, the next on the list is recommendation letter. So what's a recommendation letter? The recommendation letter is a letter that attests for your character, for your academic prowess, and for your character, academic prowess, and your working relationship with people. So they want recommendation letters from people that you've worked with. And I always advise, most schools require 3 recommendation letters. You may be asking, well, who can write recommendation letter for me? I will always advise, use professors. If you don't have a professor in your university, then use a lecturer that is considered a doctor, right? That has a doctorate degree. Why? Because take for instance, you're applying for a master's, or you don't want to use just a lecturer that doesn't have a master's, so it doesn't really, that recommendation is not weighted. So use somebody from the academia, right? Either a professor or a lecturer that is a doctor. He or she can write recommendation on your behalf. And again, you may be asking, can I just only use academic recommendation? No, you can also use industry recommendation. If you worked in the industry, if you worked in a company, maybe your boss or your supervisor can also stand in and write recommendation on your behalf. Now, standardized tests. Most schools require the standardized tests, and it is called the graduate record exams. It's very important. It gives you an edge because the graduate record exam tests you on a lot of things: verbal reasoning, quantitative reasoning, analytical writing. So this is just like, you can compare this like the JAM, right? Before you get admission to study whatever you studied in bachelor's, you had to go through some exam known as the JAM and the post-UTME. That's the same way we have the graduate record exams here for graduate schools. It has a cutoff mark. So most schools have different cutoff mark. Each school have their cutoff mark. Each department, each program also have their different graduate record exam cutoff mark. So you need to prepare and write this exam. This exam will take lots of preparation because you do not just want to write the exam and fail. You want to write the exam and pass, and not just pass, have a very good score and meet that requirement. Some universities have waived the graduate record exam. You can see it here, optional but recommended. Some universities do not accept the graduate record exam again. Fortunately for you, if the university you're applying to is one of those universities, then fine and good. Some university may say it's optional, but please, when you see optional, please take the exam because it gives you an edge over any other person that doesn't have the GRE. And the last but not the least is the English proficiency test. There are 3 types of English proficiency tests. We have the TOEFL, we have the IELTS, and we have the Duolingo. The TOEFL and the IELTS and Duolingo, they help test your proficiency in spoken English. Why? Because you're coming to an English-speaking country. You're going to be conversing with an English-speaking professor. And in most cases, as a teaching assistant, you're going to be teaching or taking lab sessions and conversing with undergrads, right, in English language. So they want to know and see your command of spoken English. That's why you need to write English proficiency test. You may ask me, which do you write? You can write anyone, TOEFL, IELTS, or Duolingo, depending on your financial capacity, because these exams, they vary in financial cost. The least expensive of them is the Duolingo, and it is very fast, very quick. You can prepare for Duolingo 3 days and you write the exam. So writing a stellar statement of purpose. Because of time, I've spent a lot talking. I'm gonna dash through this. If you want to see more on this, you can go on YouTube. Follow us on YouTube. We have the Cable Nigeria is our YouTube channel, and the Graduate School Conference recordings are on that channel, right? You can go through it. We have a specific session, a 2 hours or 1 hour session only for graduate writing a stellar statement of purpose. So you can still find it there. But of course, I'm going to give you and run through it very quick. So what exactly is a statement of purpose, right? This document, it provides the admission committee with information that allows them to become very more acquainted with you, right? They want to know who you are. They want to know what you want to study in graduate school. They want to know why they should accept you into their program, right? They want to know what is your motivation behind the program that you're applying for. They want to also have an understanding of your experience in the field. They want to know if you've had any experience in line with what you want to study, right? And they want to know your career plan beyond the degree. So these are the essential things that are contained in the statement of purpose. And so this is what the graduate admissions committee look when they evaluate your application. So what are the tips on writing a very good statement of purpose? I shared some specific tips here, which when you go through these tips very well, take them to heart, you write a stellar statement of purpose. You need to be yourself. I say it and I keep saying it. No one knows your story except you. I cannot write your story. You write your story by yourself and for yourself. You have to write a strong opening. Why writing a strong opening? Most people, they fumbled in the introductory part of the statement of purpose. And once you set a very bad tone for your statement of purpose, then trust me, your statement of purpose would not be so strong. And may I shock you, most of these professors that evaluate your admission, they have 1,001 applications to evaluate. So if you start with a boring statement of purpose, if you don't have a strong opening, they will just skip your statement of purpose. They will not even look at it. Some people start with, oh, my name is Emmanuel Chibueze Obasi. I am the first child from my family. When you start with that statement of purpose, you're already putting yourself in a very dangerous position because it's a very poor statement of purpose. It's a very poor opening, right? Probably the body of your statement of purpose will be very strong, but if you start with a very strong opening, it gives them the courage and the excitement and the enthusiasm to go through your statement of purpose. Are we together? So you need to understand that writing a strong opening is very important. It sets the tone for your statement of purpose. The third thing you have to know is describe an important experience that is relevant to the program of interest. You may not have worked in the industry. You may not have worked relating to whatever that you want to apply to. But if you share an experience, share a story that can position you and make you well suited for a program, it is very encouraged. It is very encouraged. And it goes to show that, okay, you don't have a very good work experience, but you've shared a story that not only puts you in a stronger position for this program, it makes them very much interested in you. So you need to share an important experience that is relevant to your program of interest. Be specific, concise, honest, and unique. No too many stories, no long stories. In fact, statement of purpose is some schools will tell you categorically the amount of pages they want, not more than 2 pages. I've never seen a statement of purpose that is more than 2 pages. Some schools can even go to the extent of telling you the amount of words they will require. Some schools will say in 500 to 750 words, describe or write a personal statement. So there's no room for long stories. Be honest. Don't share what you don't have. Because along the line, there's something we call the interview stage. Some programs require interviews, right? When you go to an interview stage, and then you're describing what you don't have, and then they're asking you questions in what you stated as not true, then you put yourself in a very dangerous position, right? Be honest. and try to be unique. Ask yourself, if I've put this thing, some people write, oh, I am hardworking, I am a go-getter, right? Then ask yourself, everybody would want to be a hard worker. Nobody would say he's not a hardworking student. It means that 1,001 person might have written the same thing as you've written. So it is not unique to start with. So describe again why you are a good match for their program. Describe why they should pick you and not pick someone else. Describe is a point where you sell yourself, right? Describe how you are fitted for that program. And lastly, talk about your goals. Don't just talk about and dwell in the past. Talk about what you tend to achieve with that particular program. Things to avoid when writing a statement of purpose. Avoid errors, misspellings, poor English, use of grammatically wrong expressions. Avoid them. So that is why I tell people, statement of purpose is not written once. There's the draft stage, there's the first stage. You keep on writing, First, write something. When you write something, trust me, your first draft will be very, very bad. Trust me. So it gives you an opportunity to go back again, refine, go back, refine. So there's room for improvement. Don't just write one and just relax, right? I'm going to talk about it. Please avoid errors. When you start making errors in your statement of purpose, grammatically wrong expressions, it puts you in a very bad position, right? There's a recommended Grammarly. Grammarly is a tool that helps you correct grammatically wrong expressions, misspelling, and every other thing. So I recommend you use Grammarly. Don't be too personal. Some people go on and tell lots of touching story. I understand that you want to portray yourself as somebody that is coming from a financially incapacitated position, but don't be too personal. Don't tell them about a story too personal about the things you did in your secondary school, and start talking too personal details, telling them how many you are in your family and how maybe your brother is still in the university and your younger brother has not gotten admission. So avoid personal stories, right? Do not focus on deep personal problems. They don't want to hear your personal problems. A lot of people have problems, so they don't want to hear you speak more on your personal problems, right? Don't be repetitive, right? Or too general in your statement. Don't say something over and over again, right, in your statement of purpose because you're trying to be concise, right? And don't be too general. I've talked about being generic. Don't write an autobiography. A lot of people, they've achieved a lot. Of course, you're a best graduating student, you're a first class student, you won every of the award, and then most people would start a statement of purpose from the beginning to the end, talking about their personal achievements, which is a no-no. Don't write an autobiography. Don't submit untruthful or irrelevant information in your essay. I've talked about this before because this will be verified. Avoid plagiarism. Very, very important. Do not write someone else's statement of purpose. Do not bring another person's statement of purpose inside your statement of purpose. It is even an academic crime to plagiarize. It's an academic crime to plagiarize. And it's definitely a no-no. Believe me, you're not going to get admission. So what is a sample of how a statement of purpose can look like? We have the introduction. I've talked about, write a strong introduction. Introduce yourself, your interest and motivation. Very strong and eye-catchy, right? Make it very strong and eye-catchy. Some people can start with a story, make it or a quote, etc., right? Make it very strong so that someone pays good interest in your statement of purpose. Summarize your undergraduate and previous graduate experience. If you've had a master's before and you're applying for a PhD, summarize what you did for your graduate program. If you have not done a master's before, if only what you have is a bachelor's, summarize your research experience, what you did in your undergraduate project, and all that. Discuss the relevance of your recent and current activities, which are your achievements. Discuss how it is relevant to this graduate program. Elaborate, right? Talk about why you are interested in that particular school and not other schools. Like I've said, above 2,000 universities in the US. So you want to talk about why you're interested in this program, in this school, why this school stands out for you, why not other school, right? And why is this particular program standing out for you, right? And in a bid to discussing that, you can include some professors that you want to work with in the school, why that professors they stand out for you. And lastly, you talk about your career goals. What will this degree do for you in the future? What is it going to do for you in the future? You don't just want to get a degree. You want something that will be very relevant in your future endeavor. And so this is my statement of purpose. The one I used, you can see it's very brief, concise, 2 pages, right? These are just 2 pages, right? You can see not more than 2 pages to show that your statement of purpose is not more than 2 pages. Even if they don't state the required number of pages, please do not exceed 2 pages. Very important. Do not exceed 2 pages. It's very important. So this is my statement of purpose. And yeah, that is that. Now, coming to the very important discussion again for today, which is the funding opportunities. Like I said, I'm not privileged to come from a financially capacitated family. So it ultimately means that I will require funding opportunity to pursue my academic goals, right? And so it means that you need to be strategic enough to position yourself that you not just get admission, but get funding. Trust me, it is way easier to get admission. It's very easy to get admission. But where the work comes in is getting admission and funding. And in the United States, there are 2 categories of funding. We have the scholarship, the fellowship, and the grants. And then we have the graduate assistantship. Are we together? We have the scholarship, the fellowship, and the grant. And then we have the graduate assistantship. Please take note of this. The graduate assistantship are in 2 forms: the graduate teaching assistantship and the graduate research assistantship. I'm going to focus more on the graduate assistantship because that is what is more attainable. The scholarship, the fellowship, and grants is not so much attainable, and I'm going to tell you why in the next slide. Now, there are a lot of non-US scholarship programs, right? And if you're looking to study abroad, you are looking for scholarship, there are a lot. These are just few that I've listed here. There's the Commonwealth Scholarship that enables students to study in Europe. There's the Chevron Scholarship that enables students to study in Europe. There's the DAD Scholarship that enables people, that gives people the opportunity to study in Germany. We have the IFP and Total France Scholarship, gives you scholarship to study in France. And we have local scholarships, the Shell, the Chevron, the AGIP, the Federal Scholarship Board, and the Petroleum Tertiary Development Funds. These are institutions that offer scholarship that support students to study abroad. Now, why am I saying that these scholarships are not so attainable? It's because of the few opportunities it provides and the limited slots, right? Imagine that a lot of 1,001 Nigerians are applying for this scholarship, and most times they select less than 5%. So if all your hope is rely on having a scholarship like this, you're putting yourself in a very disadvantageous position, because you might have done a lot and then you don't get the scholarship. You might have done, your portfolio is strong, right? Your credentials very strong, but then you might just be limited because of the limited slots. They can't take everybody, so they just take less than 5%. So it means that you are putting yourself in a situation where you don't have a lot of control about things. So the idea of getting funding and strategically positioning for funding is to place yourself in a situation or in an environment where you have strong control of a lot of factors. Of course, definitely you don't have 100% control of everything, right? There's a lot of variable playing out, but you want to position yourself very well. I keep on talking about positioning. Position yourself in a place to get funding. And so a very good student will not just focus on this scholarship themselves. A very good student would go ahead and do other things to position him very well. And that is why a very good student will not just look at the scholarship, but will go further and consider the graduate assistantship. Because believe me, in the United States, what they consider as funding most of the time is the assistantships, right? And there are lots of assistantship in the United States of America. And there's a lot of assistantship. Trust me, there's a lot of assistantship. So what is an assistantship, right? A graduate assistantship, it gives students the opportunity to professionally develop themselves in gaining professional experience. It also trains them academically and support them financially while pursuing an advanced degree. I come again. It helps students to gain professional experience and research experience, as the case may be, while training them academically and supporting them financially. What do I mean by training them academically and supporting them financially? I'm going to talk about it in the next slide. So what's the workload? A typical graduate assistantship generally entails 10 to 20 hours of responsibility per week. 0.25 to 0.50 full-time equivalent is what we call FTE. You don't have to bother yourself about what we call FTE. It's just a way to calculate your financial remunerations. But that's a discussion for another day. Now, having talked about the graduate assistantship, we have various types of graduate assistantship. We have the teaching assistantship. And what's the teaching assistantship? I'm going to talk about the duties and responsibilities and the incentives. So a teaching assistantship is an academic program that provides stipend for students, and it assists them in teaching, while in turn the students assist in teaching throughout the academic year. A teaching assistantship in an academic program provides a stipend to a student, right, who assists in teaching duties during the academic year. So in simple terms, it's an assistantship that they provide to graduate students that helps students, right? And students in turn offer teaching responsibilities. I'm going to talk about the teaching responsibilities in a second, right? So what are your responsibilities as a teaching assistant? So you're going to be helping in teaching or assisting in a course under the supervision of a director or a direct supervisor. So some people may be saying, oh, I'm not good in teaching, I'm not good in teaching. Very fine and good. In most cases, you don't have to teach, you just have to organize lab sessions, like tutorial sessions. They come together because here in the United States, they are very, very much interested in the academic, right? Every university have what we call the lab sessions, right? Which is different from the normal lecture period, right? A professor comes to the class, teaches undergraduate students. They have tutorial sessions, dedicated tutorial sessions and lab sessions, where the students would have a roundtable discussion with a teaching assistant. So you, as a teaching assistant, you have the opportunity to help out, not just in teaching. Remember, we say, "Oh, I don't have so much teaching experience in this particular area," right? Probably you're not good in chemistry, and you're a teaching assistant in chemistry. You're not going to be teaching. You're just going to be helping out in lab sessions, grading of a course. Some of you will be asking, why is that important? Trust me, an average professor in the United States of America is also a research professor. It means that he has 1,001 responsibility aside teaching. He has the research activities. He has students that he mentors. He has people working in his research group. He has grants to write. He has grants to supervise. He has conferences to attend to. He has conferences to go to, as well as teaching responsibility. So it becomes so cumbersome for a professor, for an average professor, to teach and to grade, right? So the department takes a teaching assistant and gives him or her this responsibility, right? So you help in grading, and they have standardized way of grading. And you may be wondering, so what are my incentives, right? What am I going to get in all this? What you're going to get is the fact that your tuition fee will be fully paid by the department, and the school will waive the tuition fee. It means that they pay your tuition fee. You have a scholarship that pays your tuition fee. It covers your health and medical fees. You have the opportunity to visit the medical care facilities or the hospitals under a medical care insurance, and you don't pay anything. And then they pay you a monthly stipend between $1,300 to $3,500 depending on the school. So the monthly stipend it gives you financial, it gives you money, right, to take care of yourself financially, to pay your groceries, your personal responsibilities, to pay your rent, and gives you enough money to save and probably send back to your people in Nigeria. So imagine that you're receiving an average stipend of $2,000, which is more than, I don't know how much it is in Nigeria, while also studying, while also going for your master's or your PhD in the US. So this is what the stipend offers you, right? And this is very important because it's eventually takes care of every fee. So you don't need to bother about any amount of fee when coming to the United States. So aside the teaching assistantship, there's the second graduate assistantship, which is called the research assistantship. And the research assistantship also has its responsibilities and duties. So what is a research assistantship? A student may be granted a research assistantship through a faculty member's grant or other university funds, enabling the student to progress towards advancing his degree while performing research activities, right, related to the grant or funding requirements. So what is the responsibility of the research assistantship? He will assist, like I told you about the professor. An average professor in the US has research obligations, right? He gets grants from the US government. He gets grants from the university to carry out a research endeavor, right? So he cannot do this alone. Imagine getting a grant of, let's say, $1 million US, and he has lots of research activities to do. So he can't do this alone. So he has students under his research group that helps out in carrying out this research, right? And that is where the research assistantship comes in. You help in carrying out research. You help a professor in working in the lab as a research assistant. And the good thing is that the research you're carrying out is in line with your study goals. It's in line with your research thesis. Because when you come in as a master's degree student or a PhD student, you're not just coming to study, you're coming to do research because your degree is research oriented. You're doing a thesis at the end of your 2 years program, you write a thesis, right? You write a PhD dissertation in a particular research area. So you are working with a professor in line with this research area, and the professor is paying you, right? The professor takes care of your tuition, gives you full medical coverage, and then places you on a monthly stipend between $1,300 to $3,500, as the case may be, depending on the university. So it therefore means that it covers all or virtually most of your financial responsibilities. So you don't have to pay tuition. Imagine a tuition fee can cost $50,000 in a year. So the department or the professor is covering that, paying your health insurance, and then giving you a monthly stipend that can range between $1,300 to $2,500 every month. So then the question, if I were you, is how can I get this teaching assistantship? It is very easy. Not so easy, but it's very strategic. Submit a strong application. What do I mean by submitting a strong application? I've talked about all documentation required, how you can write a strong statement of purpose, how you can submit recommendation letter, how you can apply to schools that offer your program, and all that. Submit a very strong application, and a very strong application will require you sitting down, counting your cost, and going through it. When I mean counting your cost is knowing that it requires sacrifice from yourself and your time to submitting a strong application. Please make sure you take the English proficiency test if you want to strategically position yourself to get a teaching assistantship. Why? You may be asking why. Now, thank you. Why? Is because if you have an English proficiency test score, in the mind of the graduate committee, they see you as someone that has a very good grasp of English language. Most of the professors are foreign professors. They've not been to Nigeria. They don't even know, they probably may not even know people from Nigeria, their test and command of English language. So they may be thinking, if we offer this person a teaching assistantship position, does he have a strong grasp of spoken English? And why not we consider someone from, let's say, other English speaking countries, and so on and so forth. So if you position yourself in such a way that you've written an English proficiency test, either Duolingo, TOEFL, or IELTS, and you have a very strong score there, they see you as someone that has a very good command of spoken English, and they can consider you to give you a teaching assistantship. How do they consider people to get a teaching assistantship? Most departments offer teaching assistantship position automatically. When you start applying online, there's a place where you would fill, there's a checkbox or a field where you would fill to consider to make them understand that yes, I am available to be a teaching assistant. So they start considering you automatically when you submit your application. So you don't have to do anything further. Just submit a strong application, write the English proficiency test, and have a very well-written resume that highlights your teaching experience. It's no-brainer, right? It's common sense. If you've had a teaching experience in the past, please include a teaching experience in your resume. If you are with us from the beginning of this session, you remember I told you that an academic resume is different from a work resume, right? It means that you need to highlight some certain things in your academic resume, and teaching experience is one. Most of you have gone for an NYSC and you taught in a secondary school, you taught in a primary school, you even taught in nursery school, right? It is allowed. It's a teaching experience. Put it out there in your resume. Some of you may say, okay, I did not teach. I was not posted to where to teach. But in one time or the other, in the past, you've taught somebody. Maybe in school, you've organized a tutorial class for a group of friends, for a group of people. Put it out there. Maybe you're a course rep in school and you work with a professor in maybe grading school script, right? You work with a professor in making presentation slides or any of those things. Whether you work with a professor, anyhow you work with a professor, put it out there as a research assistant, research experience, because it's very important. Are we together? Always, lastly, but not the least, I keep telling people, this is very important. Always stay in touch with a graduate coordinator or administrator of that program you're applying to. Why is this important? It is important because there's what we call the human psychology, right? Every program in the US have a graduate coordinator or an administrator. You can find it there in the web page of that. Like I said, every program in the United States have a web page. Go to the school web page, go to a search button there, academic. You see academic, you see departments, just list all the departments. Go to that department we want to apply to. Go to the web page, you see a graduate coordinator. You will see he or our emails would be written there, right? A school may have a graduate administrator. Their email address will be written there. Stay in touch. Why? Because there's something, like I said, what we call a human psychology, right? It gives them an impression that, oh, this guy is serious. He's keeping in touch. Indirectly, your name is resonating in their minds. Indirectly, your name is resonating in their minds, right? Because once they have a teaching position available, they say, okay, this guy has stayed in touch, right? And then you say, okay, why not we consider this person? So you see where the human psychology plays, right? So you need to stay in touch. How do you stay in touch? Send them emails. Believe me, these people are very friendly. They respond to your email. It's not like an average Nigerian professor or lecturer in Nigeria that probably may not even respond to your email or don't want to speak to you. They are very friendly. They respond to email. You can reach out to them. Oh, I'm looking towards applying to this program in next fall. What are the requirements? What are the departmental requirements? Do you have funding opportunities? The career coordinator may reply you and send an email. Say, oh yes, we have this program. We offer funding. And then you send back another email thanking them for providing this information, and then stay in touch. And then in another time, you send an email. Oh, I've started applying. I'm looking at writing the GRE. I want to do well in this particular area. Just form a network a very good network of a network that gives you a relationship with them, because trust me, it plays an important role. Like I said from the beginning, everything you do in this journey, they are very important, and they are related, right? They have a strong connection with one another. So these are the way you position yourself to getting a teaching assistantship. But some people ask me, do I stop here in getting a teaching assistantship? I'll always say no. Why? Because like I said, you want to position yourself and make sure that you have a lot of control of what happens to you. Your destiny should be in your own hand to some certain degrees. Why? Because a teaching assistantship position is just left for the department to consider your application. So you don't want to just put all your eggs in one basket and let's keep waiting, because eventually they're going to select some students, and when they select some students, they may not have the financial capacity to select everybody. That means that the department fund may not be enough to take you in as a teaching assistant, right? And it means that you won't be selected. So instead of just putting all your eggs in one basket and then just hoping, why don't you take a step further towards getting funding? Why don't you, as much as you're strategically positioning to get a teaching assistantship position, take a step further, and that step further is positioning yourself to get a research assistantship position. And again, the requirements are similar, but it's slightly different. Submit a strong application, that is one. There's something that I call strategic cold emailing to professors, right? And some of you may be wondering, how many emails do I send to professors? At least, I would always encourage at least 50 emails to different professors. In fact, during my time, I was submitting application, and you can call me, I don't want to use a very vulgar term, but you can literally call someone a mad person, right? You're submitting application like a madman, because you are applying to schools, you are reaching out to professors. You are the same way you apply for jobs in Nigeria, the same way you send emails to companies, the same way you go for interviews, the same way you just go to places, submitting your resume here and there and there and there. This is the same way you position yourself to get research assistantship. And I talked about research assistantship in the previous slide, and I told you that it is offered by professors, right? It means that you need to email these professors and ask for availability of don't just ask for availability of research position, ask for availability of open positions in their group. Tell them that you're interested in joining their research team. Tell them that you're interested in joining their research group, that you love what they are doing, you've gone through their web page and all that. How do you write a cold email? I mean, I cannot, it's a session on its own, right? If I want to spend time on talking about that, we're not going to leave here. We're going to extend this presentation. But understand there's something we call cold emailing, and there's a way to write a cold email. Imagine you're writing a cold email to a professor that hundreds of people are also writing the same cold email. What would make your cold email stand out from other person is the techniques that you use in writing a cold email, right? Do not send generic cold email. So what do? I send lots of cold email to different professors, to the different schools that have applied. Make sure you take the English proficiency exams. I've talked about that. Start working on publishing your academic work. Some of you have done something in the past. Some of you have publications. That's good and fine. Some of you don't have publications. That's good and fine. But can you start working on something? Probably your undergraduate project. I always keep telling people, if you have an undergraduate project, if you did something as an undergraduate student in your final year project and it was not plagiarized, and it was not something that somebody helped you to do, if it's your unique work, right, it means that that particular project has the capacity to become a publication. And so you start working on having a publication, because it places you in a very high pedestal in the eyes of this research profession, because they're doing research. They want someone to have research experience, right? They want to take someone to have research experience, right? So start making sure that you're doing something like that. Again, have a very well-written resume that highlights and states your research experience. I've talked about research experience in the past. Even if you work with the lecturer in school, in maybe doing a lab experiment, write it, put it there. It is very important. Please attend graduate seminar, graduate fair, and career fair. Why is this important? Because every school has what we call the graduate fair. When you attend a graduate seminar, In most cases, they invite professors. In most cases, they invite professors to come and speak. They invite professors to come and interact with students. So imagine that professor that you're trying to email, you've sent emails like 1, 2, 3, 4 times, and then you're seeing the professor face to face, or you're interacting with the professor. Doesn't it make it easy for you to have a conversation with the professor and sell yourself to that professor? It makes it very easy. So try as much as you can to attend graduate fairs as it comes, right? And lastly, always keep in touch with your graduate coordinator and administrator. I've told you why to always keep in touch with them, and I do not want to um, further stretch on that. The last thing I'll talk about for today is mentorship. And why do I include this slide here? Because no man is an island. If you want to walk alone, you're not going to go far. If you want to go far, walk together with people. If you want to, there's a saying that says, if you want to go fast, walk alone. If you want to go far, walk with people. The graduate school is an entire job on its own. This is something I always like saying. If you know me, you always know that I say this. The same way you wake up every morning and go to work, prepare and go to work, or prepare and go to school, the same way you need to be mentally prepared. Position yourself that every day I am working to go to graduate school. The same way you go to work and you have an outline, a KPI, key point indicators, key performance indicators, sorry, of the things you achieve or want to achieve. The same way you should have a key performance indicator for the things you want to achieve in the graduate school journey. I talked about the jury exam. It doesn't take one day to prepare for the exam. It takes months, 2 months, 3 months to prepare for an exam. Time consuming. In fact, when I was preparing for the exam, as of 2020, then I was studying on my own, right? Every time was important. If you see me alone, I'm studying, I'm in my room. I have friends, right? They come and want to discuss, have some silly chatters, or just discuss normal conventional stuff. But then I don't have that time, right? Because I'm preparing for an exam. I'm preparing because I know where I'm heading to. So what would make you have this mentality is when you have mentorship, right? Direct mentor. Look out for somebody that has gone the race, that have walked this journey before, and approach them and feel like they can mentor you. A mentor sees things that you've not seen. He has experience. He can share experience with you, right? You create a channel with like-minded friends, right? People that are the same way, pursuing the same goal. Imagine there are 60 or 59 of you on this call. It means that you guys want to achieve this goal. Create a group of friends. People that have, during my time, I have 3 other friends, right? We work together, right? We started this journey together. And by the grace of God, we got admission and funding, and we came to the US at the same time. So nobody was left out. So that is the power of working in group. When you are tired, the other person is there to motivate you. When you are weak, the other person there is there to motivate you. Because I tell you this, it's a work, it's a job on its own. Imagine you're going to work, you're thinking about work, you're thinking about applying to schools, thinking about writing exams, thinking about sending cold email. That is the sacrifice that you need to pay. And working together with people will help you pay that sacrifice. You can have a direct mentor. Like I said, you can have an indirect mentor through social media. There are different platforms. You can join the cable. Of course, the cable community offer this indirect mentorship. We hold these sessions in several locations. We share different ideas, things for you. Go on social media, go on LinkedIn. You can follow people that talk about graduate school on LinkedIn, right? There's the academic Twitter. On Twitter, if someone that follow Twitter, make sure you are well informed, right? Because you don't want to walk alone. You don't want to walk alone. There's a slogan that says you'll never walk alone. If you're a Liverpool fan, you'll never walk alone. So do not walk alone in a graduate school journey. And this is me like 2 years ago. This is my lab. This is where I work. Just a picture. I mean, this is a very old picture. I don't look like this anymore. But yeah, this is me. And these are my friends in the snow. Wyoming is a very, very cold place. You can literally see the snow. And these are the things I've talked about in the past. So yeah, thank you so much for listening to me. Thank you very much. So I know I've taken a lot of your time. I've spent so much time in speaking about graduate school. I just before I forget, so please, we'll take some questions, but before I take questions, just give me some time, let me go to the chat box. So before I take question, I would, if you want to, if you're not part of our community, if you're not part of our community, and if you want to join the community or you want to become a cable ambassador, I would give you an email that you send to, so that we can add you. Some of our cable ambassadors are not here today, so they would have been the one doing this themselves. For just a minute, let me give you. So if you want to join, you can send us an email with your phone contact to this email address. I am writing it so that you have it. info.cableofficial@gmail.com. info.cableofficial@gmail.com is our email address. And if by any chance you got an email from us inviting you for this session, please know that you can also send an email to us via the email address. We have two emails. We have the team cable at gmail.com, and then we have this one, info.cableofficial@gmail.com. Please send us an email and we're going to add you, specify what you want to join. You want to join being an ambassador, and if you also want to join the virtual community as every other person, please indicate that there. So yes, and so let's delve into questions and answers, so we can take as much questions we have, and then we can proceed. So I'm going to start in no particular order. Chigozie and Nuligwe, please ask your questions. Can ask your question precisely. If you want to speak, you can unmute yourself and speak. If you're not in a noisy environment, and you want to ask your question, please send on the chat box. I would respond to those questions. Thank you. And just to add this, the recording, this session is recorded, right? We'll share the recordings on our YouTube channel. You can find it on our YouTube channel in, let's say, in some couple of days, like in a week from now. We're going to send it on our YouTube channel. So yeah, just to answer that question. So Chigozie and Oligwe, please, your hand is lifted. Do you have a question? Please ask a question so we can take other questions. Thank you. So I don't think he or she is speaking. So we'll go to Alex Messi, please. If you have a question, your hand is raised. Alex Messi, if you have a question, you can type it or you can speak.
Okay, good evening. My
Sorry, I can
question
hear
is
you.
about the. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Good evening. So I wanted to ask about the IELTS exam. The result is said that it's going to be an advantage. I want to know if something that expires the exam, something that has
Sorry,
duration of
your
time that
voice
the
is a
result
little
will
bit
expire.
low. Your voice is a little bit low. I don't know if it's from my own end, but please, can you take that again? Let me see if I can do anything to improve on the voice. But yeah, take
Okay,
that again,
I
please.
was asking.
Yeah, I can hear you
My
now. I can hear you
question,
correct.
my question is about the IELTS exam. I don't know if I'm getting it correctly.
Yeah,
I wanted to ask how can I write the exam and have the results? And is it something that expires? Does it have a duration of time?
yes, that's a nice question. You can write the exam. It's a general test exam. The IELTS have a website. You can go to the website, register to write the exam. It has a financial. It requires a financial cost, right? The IELTS, as of today, lasts for 2 years, so it has a duration of 2 years. You can use the IELTS for 2 years. I don't know if they have increased the validity period, but the validity period for the IELTS is 2 years. For the GRE exam, it's 5 years. It has a validity period of 5 years, and ETS organizes the GRE. It is standardized test. It has a validity period of 5 years. To answer your question, the IELTS have a validity period of 2 years, and it can be taken anytime, anywhere. It comprises of 4 parts, if I'm not mistaken: the listening, the speaking, the writing, and the reading. Listening, speaking, writing, and reading. And IELTS has a 9.0 as a maximum score for each of these category: listening, reading, speaking, and writing. Right. Most schools have a cutoff of 6.5 as the IELTS general average score. Or I will always tell people to shoot for an 8.0 because it gives you that edge. Right. Some schools, they waive the IELTS. If you come from a speaking country like Nigeria, some schools include Nigeria as an officially speaking nation, right? Others do not, right? If that school, if they include Nigeria, like Wyoming, University of Wyoming, they've now included Nigeria. So you don't really necessarily have to write the IELTS exam. But if you have the financial capacity, please do write the exam, because like I said, I've told you the benefit of writing an IELTS exam. Does that answer the question?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Yes, you're welcome. You're welcome. So please, Rashid Bello, you can ask a question.
Hello. Good evening. Thank you very much for the insightful session.
Yeah, you're
In the
welcome,
course of
Rashid.
your discussion, especially around you mentioned the use of Grammarly. There's something I discovered recently. That's about 2 weeks ago while making an attempt at drafting one. So while in one info session like that, I got to know that even if you had written your SOP from your head with so much personal information and whatnot, you still get flagged as AI as though you used AI to generate the entire thing. That's one. In one of the info sessions I attended for one graduate school info session like that, they mentioned that it is the use of tools like Grammarly that increases the chance of getting that of and I use Microsoft Word. My company has a paid one, so I get to, there's one part of the Windows that actually helps you check for plagiarism and also correct English. So when I logged the SOP I drafted inside into Coolbot AI detect 60 or 70% AI generated, and that was not the case. That begs to ask that what approach would one take? I mean, and you might not have the best answer to this, but just advice, because AI is now like a thing now, and I don't know. So that's it. So second thing is that you mentioned that schools that do not require GRE, that say GRE is optional, we should not bother. No, you said something about you should just try to get the GRE because it boosts your chance or something. So I mean, I've been looking for schools that do not require, but most of them they say optional. They don't outrightly say required, or except few schools that say they don't accept, and maybe just two, and those are maybe Ivy Leagues, which makes it even even more difficult. So so I don't know general advice on this, and you can advise someone who has maybe extensive professional experience. Does this automatically
Okay.
replace your GRE requirement or something? Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic question. Fantastic. Right. I'll start from the first one. So yes, I mean, we're in the era of AI, large language models, generative AI helps, especially in the advent of ChatGPT and all AI tools. And I mean, it's a general problem, right? I get what you're saying, right? And it's also, I've experienced that too, because I mean, as a researcher, you would write papers, right? You write manuscripts and try to submit manuscript. And I mean, what I do is that I write my manuscript and I want to check and see if I use I use GPT-0. GPT-0 is a tool that helps you to detect if something is written by AI. So I just always want to make sure that what I'm writing is not flagged as AI, right? So I go through chat GPT-0, and in most cases you write something and they say it's AI generated. We understand the pros and cons of this AI tool, right? And what I meant by when you use Grammarly, right? I don't mean that you should use Grammarly to structure your English properly. Just use Grammarly helps you to flag like grammatical errors, right, in expression or typographical errors, right? You can use it to correct. I'm not saying use it to structure the way you write, because once you alter the structure of what you write, if you're not really careful, it will be flagged as AI, right? And yes, there are some of these tools that they tell you, okay, we flag AI, and believe me, those tools are trash, because most of these universities, they don't use those tools, right? Publishing industry, publishing journals, they use a very high premium tool that can tell you with a high degree of certainty if your work was written by AI. And there's a threshold, right? Because we know that from a large language model, if you're someone that has worked with data and all that, especially machine learning and all that, you know that these large language models learn from human experiences, right? And so you cannot 100% say for sure that this thing is written by AI or written by human. But there will always be an overlap. So that's why they set a particular level of threshold. Doesn't mean that it should be 100% or zero AI rating. So if you have a little percent, it's fine, you can work with it. But there's a certain high threshold that the university use and most of these premium to use. So if you want to use these tools like Grammarly, try as much as you can, just correct typo errors, correct where you should use was, you're using is, those things. Grammarly will help you correct them. So just correct those typo errors, grammatically wrong expressions, and just leave it at that, right? There's much you can do. I experienced that too. There's much you can do, but just make sure that in all, a greater degree, in all, to a very large extent, write your your SOP by yourself, please. And to answer your other question, once you go to the university webpage and they say GRE is optional, it means that you can submit your application without the GRE, right? But you can also submit your GRE. You can also submit the application with the GRE. So it therefore means that, does it mean that if I submit my application without the GRE, I won't be considered or my application will not be reviewed? No, it's going to be reviewed. But imagine you wrote GRE and someone did not write GRE. And these people your application is being reviewed by professors, a committee of professors. So you just putting yourself to a greater extent, right? Giving yourself an edge over any other person, right? Because professors, they like it, they like when they see smart students, people that have gone the extra mile to write this GRE exam. Except you see explicitly here that your GRE will not be considered in the evaluation process. Then you can now, okay, calm down and say, okay, it's not really required, right? But if you don't see that, like you said, explicitly written here, but they write optional, by all means, if you have the financial capacity, please write the GRE. Write the GRE because it's going to give you an edge. Trust me, it's going to give you an edge. Like I said, the mentality is to make sure that whatever you're doing, you're having an edge over every other person. So please write the GRE by every means. But if you are in a very time crunch situation and maybe a deadline is approaching and you don't have a GRE, you don't have the financial requirements, right? You don't have the financial capacity to write the GRE, but you have a professional experience. Like you said, you mentioned professional experience, research experience. Yes, it also serves its own purpose. It also makes your application stronger. So remember, the idea is to submit a strong application. So everything has its own part that it plays. Having a very high professional experience, maybe you work like 10 years in the industry, 5 years in the industry, it has its role it plays. It overall contributes to submitting a strong application. And of course, they go through all these things. So, but in general, once the GRE is required, but it's optional, please, by all means, if you have the capacity, write it. Thank you. Does that answer the question? Does that answer the question, Rashid?
Yes, it does. Can you hear me? Yes, it does.
Yes,
Thank you very much.
sounds good. So, Ogunleye Oluwafemi, please.
Okay, yeah. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so my question is concerning the application fee waiver request. Okay, so from what you explained, I understand that okay, there has to be a time where you mail the graduate program coordinator, finding one excuse why the application fee will not be feasible for you to pay. So, but my concern is, should that process be when you've started your applications, or you can do that probably when you're still trying to have a list of your programs and you are trying to do some plus and minus. I mean,
Yes,
I'm just
I advise you to do that even before you start the program. Why? Because it will save you a lot of time, right? You cannot apply to 30 schools, right? There's only a handful of schools you can apply due to the various application fee, like you said, right? And so you don't just want to start applying, start an application that you will not finish at the end of the day because of okay, the program is not waiving the GRE fee and you don't have the financial capacity to pay for it. So even before I start applying, I've done my background check, I've done a lot of things, I know the school and they offer my program, I like the professors there, they offer my research interests. And then it's now I will not start sending out these emails, right, to the graduate program requesting for GRE waiver, telling them that I'm from a third generation family, this current situation in Nigeria, I don't have the financial capacity to pay for this, like you said, submit my credential, my resume, telling them how good I am and all that. And so if they have application fee waiver, because some schools have generic application fee waivers, right, they can just send it to you, or you can see that when you attend their graduate fair. Some schools don't have generic application fee waivers. It is by case, it's what we call case by case, right? It's merited, right? Case by case. And take for instance, I wanted to apply to a school, Colorado School of Mines, and the application fee was $100 as at then. And then I didn't have this $100 then, right? And I was barely working. So then I had to, it was not stated. They said that they don't waive application fee. But did I go the extra mile? Yes, I emailed. That is why you have to. That's why I talked about emailing the gallery coordinator, right? Very important. I emailed the gallery coordinator and the or administrative coordinator, explain to her that see, this is my situation, this is my this is my that, and then I attached my resume and I had a publication. Then I attached it. Anything that would boost your application, I sent it across. And then she read the email and then she responded and she said that that they don't usually offer application fee waiver, but I should send my credentials, right? And when I sent it, she viewed my credentials and she said she has gone through my credentials. And because of she has gone through my credentials and she has seen my potential, that she will be offering me a graduate application fee waiver. So, and that was how I was offered a graduate application fee waiver. So, and that's what made me to apply to that school. So it doesn't make sense that you've gone through the last step, people have submitted a recommendation letter for you, and then you're having a application fee that you cannot pay, right? And you've done that for like 10 schools, 10 schools with application fee waivers. So you have wasted time. And in this process, time is what's important. So I would advise before you start, you always know schools that offer application fee. And then the only time you can now start an application is when you get a go ahead from the department or the administrative coordinator telling you that okay, we cannot see your application yet. Start an application, and if we see it, we'll go through it and tell you if you're going to pay for you. And in that case, only in that case, should you start an application without having an application fee waiver at hand or having a means to pay. If you have a means, if you have the financial capacity to pay, then you can go ahead and start your application. Does that answer this question?
yeah, it does. Thank you.
Correct. So let's go with. I'm just going to select no particular order. Olayiwole Farouk. I apologize if I don't pronounce your name correctly. I crave your indulgence. I'm not so good with names. So Olayiwole Farouk.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. We really appreciate all what you've been teaching us since. We really thank you, sir. So my own concern is that I've been attending some other seminar like this, and one thing I've been noticing is that they used to reinforce the statement concerning how we saved our documents for uploading. So, but I wasn't given. Sometimes I don't have the chance of um, requesting for a question, something like that. Sometimes it just be an off section stuff like that. So I would love you to address it for us because they said the way we save documents also matters. Because like for me now, I might want to submit an SOP and just write SOP as my document saved with my PDF and just upload it. Is it that there is a format that we have to follow
Yeah,
or any?
yeah, yeah. I mean, thank you for the question. Right. To answer your question in simple terms, save always save, and it's a rule of thumb, right? For formal application, formal settings, always save your document with your first name and your last name and what the document is. Take for instance, my name is Emmanuel Obasi, right? Emmanuel Obasi, SOP. If I would have lots of SOP because I'll be applying to a lot of schools, right? Emmanuel Obasi, SOP, University of Wyoming. Emmanuel Obasi, SOP, University of Alabama. Emmanuel Obasi, SOP, University of Minnesota. Same way you, Olayiwole Farouk, SOP, University of Alabama. Now, how do you upload these documents? SOPs, please always upload PDF documents. Don't upload Word documents. Why? Because of course you know that because of the different user interface and different operating windows, right? Some may be Windows, some may be iOS, right? Different operating system have different ways they open a document or read a document, right? So a very more friendly reader friendly format of documentation that preserves the structure of your document is PDF. So always submit the PDF, whether you're submitting SOP, submitting your resume, you're submitting, a lot of people make that mistake. They submit SOP that is Word, and in their own operating system, Windows, maybe you're using Microsoft Word 2011, 2016, 2013. Another person is using different thing. So in your own Windows and your own system, it is well structured. But then when another person opens it, it's scattered. So you don't want to be scattered. You don't want to appear as someone that is not coordinated, like your SOP or your resume, your name is flying here, your degrees here and there. So you want to avoid that silly mistake. So please, PDF preserves the structure of your document. Always upload your document as a PDF, except otherwise stated. But always upload a PDF document. Does that answer the question?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, thank you. So Samson, you're next. After Samson, Adana, you go. And after Adana, Etelbert Nwokocha will go. And after that, Ojo Ifeoluwa would go. All right. Please make your questions concise, and so that we can.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, sir. I just want to make inquiry. Do they give mentorship for the English proficiency examination, or it's just all the like the cable? Do they offer mentorship for English proficiency examination? That's the question, sir.
Yeah, I mean, we would not offer direct mentorship for English proficiency exam per se, but we offer mentorship on the graduate school at large, right? and English proficiency is part of it. Specifically, do we offer mentorship for English proficiency? No. But if you have questions regarding English proficiency, can we answer them? Correct. Yes, we can answer them. Can you always throw that on the group? We can always answer those questions. And English
Right. Thank you.
proficiency exams, are they difficult? They're not so difficult, right? Trust me, if you have a 1 month plan to write the exam, you can write the exam in a month. Duolingo, if you want to write the Duolingo in 3 or 4 days, you can write it in 3 or 4 days. Trust me. In fact, when I wrote Duolingo because of my financial capacity at that time, and I wrote the exam in just 1 day. I prepared for the exam and wrote it that same day. So yeah, that's how it is. But for the GRE exam, of course, we provide very good mentorship on the GRE exams. We spend more of our time on the GRE exam because we know that that exam is very critical, and we want people to pass the exam. In fact, if you follow Cable, we give out a scholarship to 10 deserving students to pay for their GRE exams. Right, the exams is within $220, and so we provided that scholarship to pay for them. Are we going to be having this scholarship more in the future? Definitely. That's why you should be a part of Cable, be part of the community, so you get first-hand information on when next we are having this scholarship. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, Sam.
Correct. So the next person, please go ahead and speak. Yeah.
So much, Mr. Manuel. Please, I just want to confirm that you can hear me. Hear me
Yes, I can hear you.
for this wonderful opportunity. Most of my questions I've noted here have been answered. So, but I'll just ask a few ones. Like you just said now, I'm interested in GRE, and the window is already open for 2025. So I don't know what the time space that I have. I mean, can I prepare for GRE for a month? Is it possible?
So I mean, this doesn't have a direct answer, but I would recommend an answer for you. Right? Do you know why I say it doesn't have a direct answer? Can you guess why?
Why?
Because everyone is different, right? And your everybody's schedule is different, and the level of preparation and the time they commit to things would differ, right? Some people they work unavoidably all through the day, and so they have only night to prepare. Some people they're not doing anything, they can prepare, have a good amount of time to prepare. So it's not a one shoe fit all situation, and this is just a recommended answer. You can prepare and write the GRE in 3 months if you dedicate a good sufficient amount of time to study every day, and not just every day. You can study Monday, Wednesday, and Friday every day, and prepare, study, dedicate 2 hours of your time, 2 hours of your time for, let's say, 4 days in a week. And then in the last month, you step up the preparation time, right? You can prepare and write the GRE comfortably in 3 months. Have people prepared and written the GRE in a month? Yes. Have they done that? Yes. So what is the level of commitment to study will not be the same with you if you're preparing for 3 months. It means that you need to up your game, study more time. In fact, if you don't have anything to do, right, just lock yourself in the room and study for the exam. Dedicate like 4 hours every day, study for the exam and practice. You can write the exam in a month. Is that recommended for me? Will I encourage someone to do that? I wouldn't recommend that because it's stretching your brain. Everybody's level of intelligence quotient is different, and you do not just want to just focus on the exam and leave other things. In this process, there are other things. So, like I said from the beginning, if you're here, you do these things in tandem. You do them or shoot them in parallel, not one after the other. You may want to do that the same, do one after the other, but you are limiting yourself time-wise. So if someone is preparing for GRE, does it stop the person from emailing professors? No. If someone is preparing for GRE, does it stop the person from from inquiring about the schools he wants to go to and making research, making inquiries. No, right? But if you want to study for an exam for 1 month, it means that you're zeroing in, and that's depending on your preparation strategy. But will I advise that? No. Why? Because this exam is a standardized exam, not because you know or you're very much intelligent that you will pass at the end of the day. They follow a principle. There's a set out rule and principle on how these questions, you answer these questions, how they set the question. Most times they don't even want to test the ability to answer the question. They want to test the ability to know the shorter and the smartest way to answer a question. So you find out that in some questions, they don't require that you solve it explicitly. They want to know if you have an idea to answer this question very fast. So, and what that will require, that you need to prepare well. Prepare well. It has a level of preparation. So my recommended answer is 3 months. That is what I have to say.
So please, I would like to, because I tried looking at your YouTube channel, Cable YouTube channel, and I didn't see it. So I hope you wouldn't mind maybe sharing the link with us in the chat box.
Oh, yes, I will do that. Yeah, I will do that now. I'll do that now. So thank you for bringing that to my attention. Yeah, I'll do that before the end of this call. Right. So let's go to the next person. Talbot.
Good evening, everyone. Please confirm you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you. All right.
Thank you so much.
Before we continue, before you ask a question, please, I would need to take just a picture, like a screenshot, for this session. I know a lot of people are started logging out already, but those that are still here, please, I'll crave your indulgence if you are willing to, show your camera, turn on your video, the camera, so that I can just do a very quick snap. Yeah. So we'll just do that for 2 minutes, even less than that, and I just take. And I'll just tell you when I'm ready to do that. Yeah. All right. I think we are. Yeah, certainly. So just okay. So I'll be taking the screen recording in 3, 2, 1. Okay. Let me take another one again. Okay, just giving some time. So again, 3, 2, 1. Capture. All right, thank you guys. Thank you once again for that. All right, let's continue. You can ask a question.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Thank you for this very engaging conversation. I mean, I've been following Keeple for a while, and even when they threw in the GRE applications, it was very exciting to see, you coming up with this initiative. Thank you once again. I just want to ask a question, 2 questions primarily. One has been partially touched. I have a month currently to prepare for TOEFL, and I applied for a particular voucher. I was awarded, and then I'm currently, I registered for the TOEFL on the 28th of September. Primarily, it's not just, as you said, it's not just in how best you can answer the questions, but the rules that apply. So people like, oh, I can speak great English, my, accent is good and all then, but it's not all about that. First and foremost, I want to know the best strategies that you use, your personal strategies that you used, apart from the duration of timing, what were your strategies that you used? Secondly, with regards publishing of papers, I'm trying to see how best I can collaborate with people around my research interests to come up with a little bit of review. However, I just want to ask also, what are the best steps to take in publishing multiple papers within a limited period of time? Someone suggested like reviews, but then how do we go about it? Apart from our undergraduate project, how do we go about reviewing research interest papers and then republishing them in our own style?
This is a very good question, actually. Yes, so to answer your question, the strategy, right, in preparing for the exam, right? So now, there is something that I did, and I mean, I'm just going to share it with you guys that really, you mean the GRE, right? Or the English proficiency test? Sorry, I was a little bit
The
carried away.
TOEFL, I'm actually preparing for the TOEFL at the moment. I've not been able to acquire funding for the GRE, but then at least I know you could just give me like a cognitive,
Yeah,
strategy plan.
personally, I did not write TOEFL, but I knew people who wrote TOEFL, and I mean, the level of preparation as at then for people who wanted to write the TOEFL, they didn't really spend so much time. You can prepare for the exam for 1 month, actually. So it's the listening, the writing, and the reading and speaking. The reading is not usually a problem. A lot of people pass the reading. If you're someone that have done reading comprehension before in school, you can pass reading. Where people have problems is speaking and writing. Listening is not so difficult because every English proficiency exam have a way that you can they have the practice test, right? So, and TOEFL is one of them. There's a practice test for listening, there's practice for reading. So what I do is I mean, your free time, you're always listening to them. You're always listening to. So if you want to improve your cognitive abilities, right, to remember things and as well as to once they speak, right, always I work with audio visual, right? Audio books a lot. So one thing that will help you in answering listening questions is audio books. Always work with audio books. If you have maybe you're someone that reads the Bible, you have the audio Bible, put it in your ear. I worked with that a lot. If you have audio books, listening to audio books, because what happens is that it paints a picture in your mind and what you are listening to, and that will help you very, very well. Reading, I don't usually see reading as a problem if you're someone that you can read and write. You can answer reading comprehension. Now, the TOEFL is not like the GRE. The GRE has a verbal session where reading comprehension is there. That one is more trickier. They're testing you in a lot of things, right? There are trick questions, lots of trick questions in the GRE. But for TOEFL, there are no trick questions for the reading. So it's very straightforward. They're telling you what you saw in the passage and you're answering questions from it. But once you can read, you can do that very well. Writing is where people miss it a lot. I know a lot of people struggle with writing. So, and what I would say, the ability for you to write well is start writing. You just take out your time to always write. Some people are really scared about writing. You don't have to be scared. Thank God we have ChatGPT now, right? When you write, you go to ChatGPT and then you tell ChatGPT to tell you what you're doing wrong in terms of writing, right? And it tells you, okay, where to improve on writing, right? And it tells you, okay, how to rewrite whatever you're written. Once ChatGPT rewrites whatever you're written, do not copy from ChatGPT and say, okay, this is my writing. That is plagiarism, right? It's AI assisted writing. So you need to understand and learn from the structure of writing from ChatGPT and every other writing place, right? So that's how you improve on writing. And to be honest with you, is just to continuously write. I mean, there's no short way of long and short on that. And again, speaking, the last thing is speaking. There's always I always tell you, we'll have a session every day. You speak to the mirror, you speak to yourself in the bathroom, and say some certain words to yourself, right? Just speak to yourself. And for TOEFL, there is a guide for the things that you would expect, right? Go on YouTube, go online. There are past, there's a TOEFL guide, right? There's a TOEFL guide there. You see what the questions they will ask people, or the one of the most common questions. They probably may not ask you, but if you can form would I say, a concept, right, regarding a particular topic, right? It may not be explicitly the same thing. We have a concept of what to say when they ask you a particular topic. Take for instance, what do you do when you work under pressure? It's one. Let's say you are in an interview and they ask you, what do you do under pressure, right? How do you handle pressure? It's one question. Another question may be, what do you do to bring out the best in you? They are not two similar questions, but there's a way you can form an answer that can still be used in these two scenarios, right? So that is the same way I prepare. So have a generic idea of the question they may ask and then prepare accordingly. And of course, because to be honest, you don't really know what they'll tell you to speak about until that day. Until that day, they can tell you, share your experience about your latest travel to maybe a rural area. Share your experience with your latest vacation, and then you start talking. So if you have built experiences in the past on how to answer similarly related questions, I feel it's going to help you, right? And yeah, most of the questions are really straightforward. I hope I've answered the question to the best of my ability because I did not write to fail. Thank you.
Yes, yes, thank you. That was a very great insight, sir. Thank you. With regards to the second question, please.
Yeah. Can you remind me the second question? I think I've missed it.
With regards to research and trying to publish papers within the post-shortest period.
Thank you. So yes, please. Research is not something that you publish because you want to publish. Research is something that you are bringing novelty or something that's a unique thing in your field with your different methodology. Right? It's not research. People think research is something ordinary, like you just write anything and you publish. No. And again, it's not something so Herculean that you must discover something before you write. No. So as long as you are approaching a topic in your own way, in your own unique way, you're adding to the academic community. And that is research. So if you find yourself in the situation where you have anything, you've done anything before, either as I always go back to the undergraduate project. If you have an undergraduate project, you can always publish that undergraduate project. And publishing an undergraduate project is even easy. Why? Because you already have a lot of things written down already. The only thing that you need to do is to structure it as required by a paper. There are lots of journals offered by Elsevier. Elsevier is one. There are two types of journals. There's the open source journal and the peer review journals. And I mean, there are three types anyway: open source journal, peer review journal, and there's something we call the conference papers that you publish in conferences. They have their different writing structure and templates, which you can find specifically on their webpage, right? And so you can go to those webpages, download their structure, and start condensing your research work into that template. Very easy and very, very fast, right? If you're somebody that wants to do that, you can reach out to me. And then I can guide you on how we can do that, right? Or even on the group chat in our community, you can reach out, and then we'll pair you with some people that have written research paper and they can guide you through. How can you write multiple papers? It's that question. The answer is very, very straightforward. It's depending on your research ideas, what you have on ground, right? What you've been able to come up with, right? You don't just write paper because you're writing paper. You write paper because you have a new idea, a new thing that you're bringing to the academic community. It may not be an entirely new idea, but an idea that you're following. As long as your methodology is different, right, it's considered a new work, right, in the academic community. okay, I'm looking for a way to solve cancer, blah 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 and blah. Right? Have there been a way to solve this type of cancer? Yes, but have there been a way to do that in my own way? No. So I'm bringing this methodology and a new way, right? It's a unique approach. So it is considered publishable, right? But if you're just going back to restate or redo what somebody else has done, then you're not offering anything to the academic community, and your journals will not be acceptable. It's something that they call predatory journals. Please take note of predatory journals. Those guys, they don't go through your work. They just accept money and then accept the publication, even if what you are bringing to the academic field is not correct. The academic field is trying to find predator journals, and it's an academic crime, right? A lot of predator journals there, they just accept money and publish nonsense. So you should be able to avoid predatory journals. By all means, you can publish in conferences. If you belong to any academic society, the best way to publish your paper is to publish conference papers. If you're a biological student and you belong to the National Association of Biological Students or the International Association of Biological Science Professionals, I'm just saying, I don't know if you have any society like that, but let me speak from own experience. I'm a petroleum engineer. There's a society known as the Society of Petroleum Engineers. We have different conferences in Nigeria, internationally, and everywhere. So in those conferences, they call for papers, they call for proposals. You can submit your work there, and if they accept it, they'll publish it for you. You will go and present the paper, and it will be publishable, and they will publish it for you in their conference journal, right? So these are various ways you can publish paper, right? Last thing I want to talk about, if you want to write the paper and you feel that it's going to be very cumbersome, create a community of like mind. I talked about mentorship in that slide. Create a community of people that are in that same field with you and would want to contribute. And so you go about sharing a different work. Okay, I'm going to write introduction, write the methodology session. You're going to write the results session, discussion session. And there's a way to write a paper. I don't want to go deep into it here, but I'm just providing you a high level answer to this question. Does that answer the question?
Very well, sir. Thank you. A final request. I mean, it would be a great honor to be one of the cable ambassadors, even as I look forward to, submit my applications through the email.
Sure. The emails are there. Please submit, send me an email, send us an email. I mean, some of the cable ambassadors will review it, and then would add you to being a cable ambassador, and also add people that want to be in the community. We're having our retreats very soon. The ambassadors are having their retreats in the coming week, so we want to finish accepting candidates in a very, very short period of time. So advice, if you want to join the community, you can send us an email. So Sheyi, right? Sheyi, can you speak? You're the one that finished speaking, I get that, right? So Ojoife Olua, please. Ojoife Olua.
Oh, sorry, I've been speaking. Good evening, sir.
Okay, Sheyi, yeah, go ahead. Good evening. Good day to you. Yeah, you are muted. Who was speaking before? Is it Ojo or Sheyi? If Sheyi, you're the one speaking before, you are currently muted. I cannot hear you. And while we wait for you, we'll just take some very last questions and call it a day.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, good evening.
Yeah,
Good
thank
day.
you very much for this opportunity.
Yes,
Yeah,
welcome.
I have two questions.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Shoot.
number one, sir. I want to ask that what would you consider to be the passing score for the GRE exam?
So the GRE exam has a score, and then you need to score the passing score of the general passing score is 300, right?
300.
Yes, the
Right.
300 is a score that we consider a passing score. Most schools in the US accept 300 and above. Some schools would give specific details of what they accept in quant and verb 150, 160, and the likes, right? But yes, but generally people who score 300 are really considered. By all means, shoot above 300, 320, please shoot for 320. 340 is the maximum score you can get, 170 in quant, 170 in vet, and article writing has a range of 0.0 to 6, if I'm not mistaken. Stand to be corrected on that. But yes, the quant is 170, the maximum score you can get is 170, the maximum score you can get in the vet is 170. So when you do the maths, it's 340, and maths is correct. And so 340 is the maximum score, and most schools they accept 300 and above. Do you just want to say, okay, most schools accept 300 and above, and then I just score 300? Nope, you need to score above 300. And that doesn't mean that the lowest score is 0. So I think the lowest score is 260, right? Because the lowest you can get in quant is 130, right? In vet, the lowest you can get. So your score starts from 130. In quant, your score still starts from 130 also in VAR, which is 260, if I'm not mistaken. All right, so that's the lowest you can get in the GRE score, 260. And so if you don't want to score 260, you want to score 300 and above. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, sir. Yeah, quickly, the second question. Yeah, given that most schools waive English proficiency test for Nigeria, I want to ask if English proficiency letter issued by my school is enough to be considered for teaching and research assistantship.
I mean, I get this question a lot. People ask me if their the letter from the school will suffice. If it's accepted by the department, then it is fine, right? If it's accepted by the department. But if you see that they said the English proficiency is required, and so that will not suffice, except it's they said they explicitly say it there that it's accepted. Then by all means, you can submit that from the school. And again, to answer this question, that this is a very good opportunity to network with the graduate admissions coordinator, right? The email address is always there. So this is a very good way. I talked about the psychology effect of having a very good correspondence with these guys. I mean, subconsciously you are placed in your mind. So you can, by every means, this question, ask them directly because they provide the direct answer. Because every program is different. A program will say, okay, yes, you accept them. Others will say no. For you to be very sure, you need to email the graduate coordinator. But one thing, if you don't take away anything from this session, please have a list. Again, I'll share with you guys the strategy that I used. When I want to start my application, I told you I took it as a job, right? I was going to work, I had it as a job. You have a list. Now, Excel is very common. Have an Excel sheet. Write down all the schools you want to go, like those potential schools. Of course, you can only go to one school anyway. So have a 30-man list of schools. A column, the schools, another column, the GRE requirements, TOEFL requirements, another column, the program of study you want to go in that school, another column, the graduate coordinator, email address will always be there, right? And the last column, at least 5 professors in that school. So if there's something that you want to take out from this today, and if you want to start and put your foot on the pedal, you should do this. Excel sheet. One column for the name of the schools. But trying to go for 30, some people can say, okay, 30 is too much, go for 25. I mean, it's left for you. Go for 25, it's left for you. So 30, the name of the school, the GRE requirements, the English requirements, the name of the GRE coordinator. Another column again for the email address of the GRE coordinator. Last column again, the names of 5 professors yet. That's one sheet. Then why? Because I told you about the application of these professions, right? So it's going to give you an idea. It gives you a very good standard approach in emailing this professor. So you don't do emailing random, and then you probably along the line you forget, oh, have I emailed this professor? Have I emailed this guy coordinator? Then you're not really coordinated. So it gives you that coordination that you want.
All right. Thank you, sir. Yeah, I have one more question. I'm very sorry. Sir, in a situation whereby um your graduate program interest is quietly different from what you studied as an undergraduate.
Is it
It's
possible?
very, very it's very, very different from what you studied as an undergraduate. So I want to ask if still publishing your project report as an undergraduate counts.
So it counts. Everything counts, right? Is it possible to do something that is very different? Yes, but what are your chances? Is it as high as someone that did the same thing as an undergrad? To be honest, if you tell ourselves the truth, the chances are not the same. Or is that possible? Yes, of course. I've seen that. I've seen that. So how do you build your? So the thing now is, if you want to do something that is different, it means that you need to build your portfolio in line with what you want to do. It may require you to get Ghana skill sets in that area. Take for instance, you did industrial chemistry and you want to pursue a master's in information technology, right? Or computer science. Is that possible? Yes. I know someone that did petroleum engineering as an undergrad and did computer science in a master's degree. Was it possible? Yes. Why was it possible? Because the person has built a portfolio in that line, right? The person has gained mastery, a little bit, some level of mastery in coding, some level of certification in data science, machine learning, cybersecurity, Internet of Things, everything regarding that particular area. The person has built a level of profile for that. And so, yes, the person was able to apply. And of course, gain admission and funding, right? To answer that question again, doesn't mean that you should leave your undergraduate project and don't publish it, even in that same particular area of studies. No, publish it if you have the capacity. Why? Because everything counts. A professor may be going through your profile and they have seen that, okay, this guy has an idea of how they publish paper. It means that he or she must be good in research. And so can take that student, even with that just little extra details of things that you do. So nothing is left unattended to in this process. And so that's why I want you to have that mindset. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So we'll take 2 more questions and then we'll call it a day. Opeyemi, Sadiq, Okumba Omotayo, and Heritage. These are the 3 questions. Heritage, these are the 3 questions we'll take, and then we'll call it a day. I'm sorry, I cannot take further questions aside these ones. Please, your question, put the question in the question box, and you can ask it in the community. We'll be able to answer that. If you're not in the WhatsApp group, please, of course, I've provided an email address for you. Also indicate that you're not in the WhatsApp group. You're going to send me a link to join the WhatsApp group. All right, so over to you guys. Ask the question very concisely, and so we call it a day.
Good evening. Can you hear me, please?
Yeah, good evening. We can hear you.
So, my question is just to get maybe a clarity on, like, okay, so for example, if someone is applying for fall 2025, that's next year, can you give a suggested timeline, like starting from now, suggested timeline of activities, maybe spaced out over separate months, that will help someone maybe by fall 2025, someone would have gotten admission, but maybe preparing to code email professors, writing GRE, payment of application fees, if applicable, all the different processes. So which timeline would you suggest is advisable starting from maybe this month, next 3 months, next 4 months, that then maybe by 1 or 2 months, hopefully if there's admission, the process will be well spaced out so that everything will not be bundled together and everything will go well accordingly.
So to answer this question, I would start by asking you, did you join from the beginning where I gave the timeline between the application window period? Just yes or no?
No, my network got spaced out a bit, so I wasn't able to
Okay.
get the entire.
Okay, I figured that out because I mentioned that in the slide. For fall, the application window, the academic session is August to December. It starts from August and ends in December, and spring begins from January to May. Then the summer is May to July. Right, so it means that, and then the academic application window for fall, stated out on the slide, is from October to December. So you have 3 months, 3 months to submit your application. And how do you space out what you do at every time? It's a personal decision that you make. We can offer guidance, which, of course, you cannot just start and is giving it brick by brick, but you need to plan it yourself, knowing that you have 3 months. And again, every department, every program has an application deadline. It is stated on the website of that school. When you go to that school, you see, okay, the deadline of applying is December 4th. Most applications in school in the US have a deadline in January. December 1st, December 15th, January 1st, January 15th, and February 15th. These are application deadline. I'm giving you guys for free because, I mean, it's something that you should be in your heart. It should be like a poster placed in your heart. December 1st. Because, I mean, if you're in a community of people applying for high school, you always probably be hearing people saying December 1st is approaching. Happy December 1st, happy December 15th. I'm telling you, these are the deadlines for most schools. These are the deadlines for most schools for the fall. Why do people apply more during the fall? Because the fall kickstart the academic year. The spring is halfway of the academic year. And so most funding are available during the start of an academic year. So August, the fall begins the academic year. So the academic year of 2024 and 2025 begins in 2024, this year, August 2024. As I speak to you today, it's August 10th. An academic session will start next week or next 2 weeks for the academic window, for the academic session of 2024-2025. For 2025-2026, academic window would be the academic window starts in October. In fact, when I mean October, that's what I mean when they start accepting application. But can you start preparing before October to give yourself very good leverage of time? Very well, very beautiful, and it's very recommended for the academic window to apply. Application window, sorry, is between October and December. Some schools may be gracious enough and extend to January if you are seeking for funding, right? Other than that, you are left on your own. Specific way of clear planning and preparation would be dependent on you. Like I said, the only advice I can give on that, general advice, is don't do things in isolation. Don't say, okay, I want to finish this one, do this one. You can do things in parallel. Like you're preparing for GRE, you're documenting your schools. You're preparing for GRE, you're reaching out to the graduate coordinators. You're preparing for GRE, you're taking note of professors. Then once you write your GRE, you're preparing for TOEFL. You're not emailing professors. As you're preparing for TOEFL, you're emailing professors. After you finish your TOEFL, you're done with all your exams. You're done with your exam, you start applying to the school that you've gotten application fee waiver. As you apply, you're reaching out to recommenders to write recommendation letter for you. Reaching out to them. And as you're reaching out to them, you're preparing your SOP. So don't do things one after the other because you don't have time. You have to do things in tandem, in parallel, right? And I'll leave that to you to make that plan for yourself. Are we going to be here to mentor you on how to do those things? Definitely on the group, from time to time, if you have questions, if you have trouble making plans, we can come in and say, okay, this is the way you can do this, this is the way you can do this. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, thank you so much.
Great. So, Okumbamu Omotayo, please ask a question. And
Good evening, sir. Can you hear me?
yeah, we can hear
Good
you.
evening. Yeah, sorry. My question has been answered. It was regarding the academic window and the submission for the document, which you answered in the previous question.
Beautiful.
So thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Heritage, please ask a question.
Hello, good evening.
Hi, Heritage. Good evening. Good to you.
My question is that is a program coordinator different from the admissions officer, and who is it best to code mail?
So most schools they have what we call the graduate admissions coordinator. Graduate admissions coordinator is a professor that coordinates everything regarding graduate school, right? When you become a graduate student, coordinates seminars, would coordinate everything regarding graduate school, coordinates fixing your committees in line with your, together with your professor, your supervisor. Because every student will have a supervisor, person that funds your program, or the head of your committee. And the graduate coordinator would work with them. He or she would also work in scheduling seminars, because in schools you attend seminars, graduate seminars, which is part of in line with your degree you are seeking. Now, in most schools, the admissions officer and the graduate admissions officer can still work as the graduate coordinator. So if you're emailing, you email that same person. But in other schools, they have specifically admission officers or program administrators, graduate school program administrator. He or she is completely different from a graduate programs coordinator. Sorry, the graduate school coordinator, right? He or she is different. We have the programs admissions coordinator. He or she is different, right? Who do you who do you email for inquiries regarding graduate school as a potential student? By all means, the admission officer or the programs coordinator, right? Who do you email if you're looking out for funding eventually? The graduate admissions, not admission now, the graduate school coordinator itself. Can email him or her is typically a professor. He or she typically a professor. He or she will have a lab. He or she will have a research group. But mostly the graduate admissions officer or the graduate programs coordinator is not typically a professor. He or she may just be somebody just working in the department. He or she just handles admission related issues for graduate students. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, you will. You said something about the group. The group is not closed. Where you see that the group is closed?
I'm in a community and it's closed.
The community is not closed anyway, but if it's the cable community, is it the cable community or something else? Sorry, I'm asking.
Yes, it's the cable community.
On WhatsApp, I'm thinking it's not closed. We're going to send out the group link to people that want to be part of the community, and then we'll add them. I don't know if it's closed, but I don't think so. Right. Anyway, I'm going to double check on that. So yeah, so I think that answers any questions that we have. All right. I think Ikechukwu wants to ask one question, please. So we can let answer and just close for today. Thank you. You said you have an important question. We are waiting. If not, I think we'll call it a day. Ikechukwu. Okay, I don't think he's responding.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Hello, good evening. Yeah, please, I want to make my question personal, please. I want to like, I'm not going to like say it anonymously. Let me use myself for instance. I've written TOEFL and I've also written GRE. Now my TOEFL score was 82, either 81 or 82, whereas my GRE score I had 152 for the quantitative and then 138 for the verbal. Although I understand that it's quite low, you understand, and then most schools will waive TOEFL for Nigerians. Do you understand? And also
Yes.
GRE is also said to be optional. Do you understand? Now my question is in situation whereby I choose, like now me submitting those scores, although I understand is low, but then it's just as it's better not to submit. It's better to submit at all than not submit. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I want to know, submitting a low score for a test that is said to be optional, like the program said it's optional. You understand? Than you not submitting at all. Which
Okay.
what's your suggestion? What can you say about that? Is it best that I submit a score that seems to be a bit low, or not submitting at all since it said that it's said to be optional, or maybe it has been waived for that particular program?
Brilliant. If you say it can be waived, please do not submit a score that can invariably make you portray you as someone that I mean, because there's a psychology, right? So you don't want to submit a score that will portray you as someone that is not so much of a very strong student, even though we know that a lot of factors can result to having a low score. There's a lot of things that can happen. It may not really be dependent on how good you are or your level of preparation. Things can just happen that you can't control. I get that. So if you don't have a strong application in a particular area and the place and that option is waived, I would advise not to submit the score. Except then again, except it's something that is required, right? And they're saying that you must submit the score. Then you can submit the score. So because at that point it's required and you don't have any other option, right? You can submit the score. And what they want to know is they want to sieve out people that don't have the score and focus on people that have the score. Then what I would advise is if you know that you're submitting a score that is not so strong, please improve on other aspects of application. Like improving on your statement of purpose. A lot of people place emphasis on standardized tests, but trust me, statement of purpose really distinguishes people, especially in the admission process. Trust me, I've seen cases a lot. Right? If you have a strong statement of purpose, they will not even bother looking at your standardized test scores like that because they feel that because every other thing that you say to them, the scores you write, the exam you write, is something that they are not really, they just see the scores, right, and they accept it, right? They don't grade you on them. So what they grade you on, what they evaluate you on is what they see and what they see you write, what they see you talk about by yourself, which is your statement of purpose. And that is very important. Make sure it's strong. Also work on your recommendation letter. Make sure it's strong. Don't submit generic recommendation letter because I know that recommendation letters, people write recommendation letters on your behalf, right? You have to tell them to submit a strong recommendation, not generic. He's hardworking. He's a good student. He always comes to class. He's hardworking. He's dedicated. These things are generic. How did this person work with you that make you different from any other person? Makes your story personal and make it very strong. And trust me, when you have a strong application, the jury exam is just one side of the application. So yes, to summarize that answer for you, if it is not required, please don't submit not so good score, right? But if it's optional, right, which means required, please do submit your GRE score. please do submit your GRE score. But if it's not required and they don't accept it, or they put it there that is not required, it is not required. Please do not go ahead and submit a score that would create a level of perception in the hearts of the admission committee about you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I do. Oh, can I ask another question?
Yeah, please do ask the last question and then I will call it a day.
Okay. So it's I've noticed something. I've noticed something while writing my statement of purpose, because usually I write. I also check it out on even for plagiarism, also for plagiarism, and also for I've noticed that at times you as a human you can write something on your own. Understand? On your own without even getting it from any source. Then if you run it through plagiarism checker, it looks as if maybe plagiarism it will be detected, like maybe sometimes so, but not always, that that plagiarism has been found in the work that you originally wrote.
When you
In
mean
that
work,
source
is it manuscript paper or your statement of purpose?
Statement of purpose. At times you can write something by yourself. Now, when you decide to run it through either maybe let's say Grammarly for plagiarism checker, it will say plagiarism has been detected. So in such situation, what do you suggest we do?
The truth is, like I
Now,
said,
if I should say, okay, let me rephrase it. Now, if rephrasing it will require me using AI to rephrase my wordings, you understand, so as to remove all those plagiarism of his stuff, is it no more? Is not me introducing AI into what I'm writing? Won't it be detected as the AI written work?
Yeah, I get a question. So this is a simple answer. It is very difficult, right, to write a personal story that will be flagged as plagiarism, except to copy it somewhere. One, two, if that's the case, right, you know that there is like I talked about, right, it's impossible to have something that is 100% and the plagiarism is 0 or 100% similarity index, because things can come from different places. It's impossible, right? And that's why they have a cutoff threshold. If you run your statement of purpose and it is below 15% plagiarism, right? The similarity index is below 15%, then it's okay. You can, you don't necessarily have to get to 0. So there's a standard threshold, especially for academic work. For paper manuscripts, it is 10%. For other things, it's 20%. But I always tell people, let's stay below 15%. Does that make sense? So try and stay below 15%, and then you are good. You mustn't have to bring it to 0. You are good. Below 15%, you are good, and that's the standard academically. Now, paraphrasing, you can paraphrase by yourself. You don't necessarily have to paraphrase with an AI tool. You can paraphrase yourself, especially when it's too bulky. But other than that, there are other paraphrasing tools. WordTune is there. Grammarly is AI assisted in a way, but in all, make sure that whatever paraphrasing tool that it gives you or you use, don't just copy explicitly. Once they paraphrase, you have an idea of what they have written. You can now write it yourself in a different light.
Okay.
Okay.
What if the paraphrased one, you decide to maybe run it through, like at times I can use Quillbot to check for AI detection. What if the paraphrased one is now saying that okay, it has been humanized? That means it doesn't detect AI. Are you still good with that?
Yeah, you're good with that. You're actually very good with that. But the thing there is that you need to understand which of this AI detecting tool is sustainable and reliable. So, like I said in my previous comment, most of these are just not sustainable. GPT-0 is very sustainable. If you have a premium subscription, it's very sustainable. That one, a lot of academic professionals use that. Turnitin is a plagiarism checker tool that is also acceptable. It has an AI checker. If you have Turnitin, then it's fine. But most of the case, I don't think some of you have turned it in. If you have turned it in, it's very good. If you also have like Grammarly, right, it is also very good. So these are those ones that I can attest for. Other than that, I cannot place such attestation on there.
All right. Thank you.
All right. I think I've answered a lot of questions, and so we're going to call it a day. Sorry that I cannot take further questions. And please, if you're on the group, you can put in questions any day of the week. Someone will always be at the other end to answer the question. Please follow us on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on YouTube. I've placed the YouTube channel link there. Please, we are Cable Nigeria. You can find us on YouTube, and you find our graduate school conferences that we had in the year. And this particular recordings will be posted on our YouTube channel. So thank you so much for your time and opportunity to join us here. Till we see again, till we have this session again in the coming months, and other part of the things we do have it. I think it's 9 time in Nigeria. You have a blessed night, and see you soon. Have a nice day. Bye bye.